Now that I've taught you how to focus, let's take this and translate this into something called deep work. Being able to get into deep work flows is honestly one of the most important things that you will ever learn in your life. If you're watching this right now, I know it's because your attention span is in the top 1% of people nowadays, and you've had the humility to take a step back and to take the time to learn what it takes to take your ability to learn to a completely different level. So, for that, I applaud you. So, this guide is specifically meant for you if you're the type of person who finds yourself putting off your work until 1 to 2 days before the deadline, or you find yourself feeling like you've worked all day, but then you check the work that you've completed and all you can feel is disappointment because you feel so run down and tired from working all day, but you don't have the results to show for it. And so your ability to work and your ability to focus is ultimately what determines your success in your life, in your business, in your career, in your relationships, in your fitness, whatever it may be. Because remember, we are always competing against other people in everything we do, whether you like it or not. And finally, the last thing that this guide is going to cover, which has honestly changed my life forever, is that if you're one of those type of people who used to be like me, who start doing work, but then they get distracted because of their environment, I'm going to teach you in this guide how to make your environment work for you. So if you're ready, use the principles that you learned from the focus guide. Pull up the notes section on your phone or get a notebook and a pencil, and let's get into the first section. So the first section is defining what deep work actually is. So you're here because you wanted to see something different than all of this hustle culture bullshit talking about being alone, working 16 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. Like, literally, it's literally a culture of people trying to just one up each other over and over again by seeing who can work the most hours of the day. But what they don't tell you is that the work that they're doing for 16 hours a day is what Cal Newport, who's the author of the book Deep Work, he calls shallow work. Shallow work, as defined in the book, is non-cognitively demanding, logistical style tasks that are often performed while distracted. Remember that, while distracted. These are the things, for example, like for me, being a YouTuber, this would be like updating my bio or changing my profile picture or checking my email, something like that that requires like zero brain power, and I can do that while doing something else or being distracted by something else. But what all these hustle culture people don't fucking tell you is that's the shit that they're trying to do for 16 hours a day and they don't get anything actually accomplished. The idea behind deep work, on the other hand, is specifically selecting the one or maybe two super meaningful tasks and crucial tasks that you're going to put all of your effort, your attention, and your focus into for just as many hours as you can per day until your brain feels like it can't do anymore and your output per unit of time starts decreasing. And then you get to just have the rest of the day to feel completely accomplished and fulfilled once you finish that work because of how much you were able to get done in the hours that you genuinely allocated all of your focus to. So, with this concept of deep work, you are genuinely going to accomplish more in 90 to 180 minutes of deep work than 99% of people will in like 3 to 5 days. And I know this sounds fucking bullshit, but if you can genuinely dedicate yourself to mastering this art of deep work, your quality of work is going to be so much higher and you're going to be able to accomplish so much more in a shorter amount of time, which is going to allow you then to have the ability to spend the other hours of the day on other things that are also important in your life, like going to the gym and spending time with family, getting closer to God, like whatever that may be to you, you're going to have more time to allocate to those things outside of your work. Because almost everyone I talk to that wants to start getting into the gym to lose weight or they feel like their relationships are falling apart, they all give me the same excuse, which is I don't have time. So that's why we're here. Deep work is the periods of undistracted, relentless focus on the most important tasks that are related to your goals. Section 2, goal setting. So even if you've already defined your goals and you've laid them out for yourself, I think you should still watch this part of the guide because I'm going to be giving you a specific format on how to structure your goals so that you can literally like copy this. Like you can literally plug and play, just fill in your specific goals into the format. So I want you to grab a piece of paper and something to write with, or use your notes app, like I said before. And I want you to write down your purpose at the top of the page. Once you've done that, under your purpose, I want you to have 3 separate categories, which are alpha goals, beta goals, and weekly standards. So to break each of these down, your alpha goals are going to be the goals that are based around your identity and the things that are going to lead you directly to your purpose. You also want to write these alpha goals in a way like you already have obtained them. The key terminology there is I am. Don't write I will be or I want to be. Say I am. It's almost like affirmations in a way, because you have to begin the process of reforming your identity around who you want to become. And this is exactly how you start doing that. So that was the first category. The second category is your beta goals, which are like the motivational goals that are more quantitative, based around numbers, and you can see the reward like right in front of you. So for example, one of my beta goals is 1,000 YouTube subscribers, right? These goals are meant to excite you and like get that little spark of motivation, because like I'm looking at my goals right now on my board right above me, and it says 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and every time I sit down to work, I look at that and it gives me like a little bit of motivation to start working. So whatever those goals are for you, write down those quantitative goals, anywhere from 1 to 5 of them preferably. So then your last category is going to be your weekly standards, which are going to be your new habits that you want to make as your new standard for the things that you want to accomplish during the week, which is going to help you achieve your beta goals, which then is going to help you achieve your alpha goals, which then ultimately leads you to fulfilling your purpose. You see how this works? This is why this is so much different than just getting out a piece of paper and bullet pointing like 3 to 5 basic goals on a blank piece of paper and then just throwing it up on your wall. So to give you an example of one of my weekly standards, it is to post a piece of YouTube content every single day. Yes, this may seem unreasonable and unsustainable, but once you finish this guide and fully understand how deep work and flow state operate, trust me, you'll completely reframe your entire concept of how much you can accomplish in a given day. Another good weekly standard that I recommend that you put is how many hours of deep work you will complete each week. This is going to be different for everybody based on their schedule and their own unique circumstances, but just kind of gauge off of your current life right now how many hours you think you can put in each week. So this is step 1, and if you look at your piece of paper right now, like just take a look at it. Think about this. You literally have your whole life plan right in front of you. And now all you have to do is the work in order to get there. And in order to do the work to get there, you have to set up your deep work routine and create your environment around reducing all of your distractions, which is the next section of this guide. So now I'm going to be walking you through exactly how I set up my deep work routine, and as you listen, I want you to think of ideas of how you can implement these things into your own specific routine. So my routine starts literally the second I wake up. From the time I wake up until about a half hour after I wake up, I do what is called my non-negotiables, which are push-ups immediately as soon as I wake up, some form of cold exposure, 3 to 5 minutes of meditation, and at least one thing in my gratitude journal. Then I go downstairs into my basement where I have a makeshift treadmill desk with 3 like storage crates stacked up on the side of the treadmill, and then a thick ass yoga mat that goes across. And that's my makeshift treadmill. And that's where I do my first block of deep work, which lasts for about 2 hours. And the most important part that I actually forgot to mention is that I do not check my phone at all before doing any of this. And my phone is on silent, do not disturb, and airplane mode. Even though it's usually pretty early in the morning when I'm doing this first block of work, I don't want any distractions coming in through my phone or my computer, through my email or whatever. I want to be completely focused on this task because my first block is usually my most intensive amount of work. And another tactic I use, which has honestly been one of my most effective productivity tactics, is I have this little kitchen timer that I bought where you can turn it up to 99 minutes at a time. And I bought it for like $7 at Walmart. And I set it right next to where I'm working. And I have it somewhere like in my field of vision that I can look out of the corner of my eye, because the research behind this shows that if you have a timer that's counting down while you're working, your brain intrinsically like works faster to get it done within that time frame. So I want to retouch back on the concept of turning your phone on do not disturb and silent and airplane mode, because I know a lot of people will have limiting beliefs on this, so I want to debunk all of your limiting beliefs right now. So you might think that turning your phone on airplane mode and silent and do not disturb is extreme and that you don't need to do all that, and that like what if something important happens, or like I'll be just fine like if I just pick my phone up for 2 seconds just to send a text message and then put it back down and keep working, right? But there was actually a study done that I think is going to change your mind on this, right? So within this study, there were two groups of students that were doing work, right? One group was told to reply to a bunch of different messages while they were working, and the other group was fucking stoned. Like they were literally high on marijuana. And they were the group that produced more work more efficiently. Like, do you understand how fucking powerful that is? Like, you are literally better off being high than fucking responding to text messages in the middle of working. Now, I'm not saying to go fucking smoke weed or anything, but it's just crazy to think off that you're literally better off being high than checking your phone periodically through your deep work session. But yeah, I just wanted to go back over that section real quick because I thought that study was pretty cool, and I think it might change your mind on why you think checking your phone periodically is still a good idea when it's actually not. So the next tip is to keep a scoreboard with yourself. So when it comes to self-improvement and accountability and competing, whether it's with yourself or with other people, the best way to push yourself is to keep a scoreboard. Keeping a scoreboard for yourself when you're doing something that's not competitive with other people is an extremely effective way of keeping track of the good daily habits that you want to do and check them off every single day as you do them, right? So the things that I talked about before, like meditation and gratitude journaling, working out, doing deep work blocks, like all of these get like their own little scoreboard of accountability basically that you can keep track of. And if you want to take it even a step further for the deep work, make a completely separate tally for that and keep track of the amount of hours of deep work that you do each day or each week or each month, whatever you want to do. So the last section, and honestly the most important one of them all, is going to be about your mindset for success when it comes to deep work. So in the book Deep Work, the author Cal Newport, he says that you need to have a scarcity mindset when it comes to your time. You don't hear people often talk about scarcity mindset in a positive way, but when it comes to your time, you can't get that shit back. So you need to think about the things in your day and really ask yourself, is this really valuable to my time? People love to feel busy and do meaningless shit that just makes them busy. And as a result of this, we gravitate towards these shallow tasks that I mentioned before that they might feel important, but they don't actually accomplish anything. And this is the overarching goal of deep work, is to value our time as much as possible by maximizing the quality of the hours that we do work so we can enjoy the remaining hours that we're not working. The second mindset of success when it comes to deep work is to start viewing the shallow tasks as instant gratification. So when we talk about instant gratification in the self-improvement world, we think about shit like video games, porn, eating junk food, but there are such thing as instant gratification tasks when it comes to work too. These shallow tasks like changing your fucking profile picture or updating your Instagram bio, like we now need to see these as basically fucking pointless and as instant gratification tasks. And on the flip side, we need to see the deep work tasks as the delayed gratification tasks that are more rewarding and require a lot of brain power. The shallow tasks that I mentioned, you can pretty much do with like your brain turned off. Like you could eat a big fucking bowl of carbs or whatever, and you can still accomplish those tasks just fine. But the deep work tasks require all of your focus and your time and your attention on that given task because it's more rewarding in the long run. And you've probably heard of the 80-20 rule, but when it comes to deep work, we actually want to flip this into the 20-80 rule, which is something I've never heard anybody talk about. But when it comes to your work, you want to do 20% of the tasks. Like these are the hardest, the most difficult, and the most mentally draining tasks that are going to yield 80% of your results. 99% of people have this flipped completely backwards because they love the feeling of doing busy and they want to do 80% of the work, like all of these shallow tasks, like responding to emails for 6 hours a day and updating their fucking LinkedIn profile or whatever. They want to do 80% of those tasks that only give them 20% of their results. So for this mindset, I want you to now focus on the 20% of the tasks, which is the one or two major things that are going to give you the 80% of your results. I want you to do them with as much focus and as much intent as possible for as long as you can, and then spend the rest of the day allowing your brain to recover and do other things that aren't related to your work, like going to the gym, going on walks in nature, spending time with friends and family, whatever it might be. The other tasks, like the shallow ones, try and batch them up together and do them all at once, or even try and multitask them, because I know we talked about multitasking earlier and how it's not real, but with shallow tasks, you actually can multitask these. So obviously we don't want to try and do this with deep work because, as I mentioned before, you need all of your focus on one given thing when it comes to deep work tasks. So for example, for me, I have like a block of time, like an hour at the end of my day where I respond to like all my emails, my Instagram DMs, like brainstorm ideas on social media for new YouTube videos. Like those are my shallow tasks, and I bunch all of them together in one given time block and get all of them done at the same time. So I want you to ask yourself, what shallow tasks do you have that you can batch together to help you be more efficient and give you more time for your deep work? Not only that, but give you more time for other things in your life outside of just work-related things. The next mindset is realizing that deep work is a valuable skill and that we are currently very low levels at this skill right now. So starting out, your brain is going to be used to doing these shallow tasks, and it's only going to be able to handle like maybe an hour of deep work before your brain's going to be completely fried and you have to take a break. Cal Newport, the author of the book, he actually says that from their research, the max amount of hours you can do of deep work per day is about 4 hours. And for any of you that say otherwise and say, oh yeah, I can work like 12 hours a day, like that's your fucking ego talking and it's lying to you. What you really want is the social validation of telling other people that you work fucking 12, 16 hours a day, when in reality you get zero results and zero fulfillment from that type of work. But on a side note, something that this book did not mention that I found works for me is that you can progress into more than 4 hours of deep work if the tasks are on different things. So for example, like if you're an author and you're writing a book, you can spend 4 hours of deep work writing on that book and get a lot done in that time, and then take a break. And then later on, you can do another deep work block of 4 hours where you're doing something completely different than writing, like recording a YouTube video, for example. So like the same principles of deep work and maximum levels of focus are applied, but just on two completely separate tasks. So that's what I found works for me. And maybe you can do that with your work and then something else that's meaningful to you. And also one last thing on this mindset before we move on. It's important to give yourself positive reinforcement, like after you do these blocks of deep work, right? Because I know it sounds cringe and soft and like you want to be this big, strong alpha male. Like, I don't need to compliment myself. I'm a big hard ass. Like, but that's your ego talking again. And you need to tell it to shut the fuck up, because think about every single block of deep work that you do is progress towards your goal. And so few people are actually doing deep work that every block of deep work you do, you're getting miles ahead of your competition as a result of it. And as I always say, anything worth doing or anything of value at all is going to be difficult and it's going to suck at first. But with anything, when it comes to self-improvement, we can make progress by implementing practices and principles into our daily lives that help us improve on these things. So finally, the last mindset of this guide is to have a strict budget on this shallow task that you allow for yourself. So I want you to still put in your deep work time and put as much intent and focus into those hours. And then once your brain feels completely unable to give your 100% focus to the deep work tasks, then give yourself a budget of how long that you will spend on those shallow tasks. Because regardless of whether or not you finish all of them or not, it doesn't matter. Give yourself a cutoff time so then your brain has the ability to recover so that the next day the deep work is even better than the day before. And as a final reminder, I just want to say congratulations for making it if you watched this video in its entirety all the way through. Because now your attention span is in not just the top 1%, but the top 0.1% of people on this fucking planet. So again, props to you for that. And secondly, I want you to remember that deep work is honestly the most essential skill in the world today and is the driving force behind the success that I've been able to build for myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and eventually the financial success that I will have gained from this as well. Coming from a kid who literally had the focusing capabilities of a mentally disabled person, someone who had to reread like the same paragraph 6 times over because my mind would wander after the first 2 sentences, to the man you see now in front of you who does hours of deep work per day and has no intention of ever slowing down. I want you to remember that you are going to suck at this at first. Like, my brain could barely do 45 minutes of deep work before, and that was only like 4 months ago. And now I'm doing 2 to 3 sessions a day of 90 to 180 minutes apiece. You're either going to look back and thank the younger version of you for putting in the time and putting in the effort of implementing these things that you learned today, or you're going to look back and you're going to wish that you started sooner. So moving forward, I wish for you to accomplish all of your goals, which I know you can do if you apply these principles and this mindset into your life. And I hope you got as much value from this video as I did reading the book Deep Work and learning about flow state. It's truly changed my life, and I hope you begin taking action immediately on all of these things. And as always, remember, success is not the best revenge, it's the only revenge.